You're watching Morning at NTV.
What is a miracle, though, is making that one single friend so that they stand by you when their 100 are against you. That's my takeout for the week. And let's start it with the question of the day. With some very good news, our website, brand new website, is up and running. It's live. Head over there, NTV Uganda. Oh my gosh, too excited. Facebook is also open, Morning at NTV. And of course, our Twitter handle is at Morning at NTV. Use those platforms to answer that question. And of course, the first 5 respondents will each walk away with a beautiful mug from Morning at NTV. You can also use our SMS platform. Later in the show, we'll be showing live your tweets and your Facebook messages as and when they come in, especially during the big story, everyday life and sport. And of course, a big congratulations to Arsenal. And of course, the 12 years a slave of Manchester United have just started. Mabel is at the NTV studios at the International Conference Center. Good morning, Mabel. I must say that my weekend was a bit saddened by Man U's continued progress down under. Good morning.
Good morning, Brian. I would be cautious in laughing yet, because Man U usually has a slow start to every season. They lose like their first 5 games or something like that, and before they actually pick up. But I had a great weekend too, just spending time with family and friends, and yeah, I feel rested, which rarely happens over the weekend, but I'm glad to be here. We do apologize for the question of the day. It should have read, which American actor committed suicide last week? Which American actor committed suicide last week? That is the question of the day. The first 5 correct respondents will walk away with a Morning at NTV mug. We shall now continue Morning at NTV by taking a look at the news. A top honcho of the National Organization of Trade Unions, Wilson Owere, says the acting managing director of NSSF lied before the parliamentary committee in regard to the board decision to purchase 100 million shares from Umeme. Owere says 6 board members out of 9 did not support the approval of the 34 billion shilling deal to buy Umeme shares. Sally this last Friday revealed to a select house committee probing alleged mismanagement at the financial institution. Ivan Chayonkwe, the board chairman, used his discretionary powers to award the deal as a result of a 5-5 votes cast amongst members. We shall continue as well by talking about President Museveni. He asked Parliament to tread carefully as lawmakers agitate for the retabling of the anti-gay bill, which initially had been assented into law but was struck down by the Constitutional Court. So why has the president dramatically made a U-turn after he publicly assented to the anti-gay bill, where he fired salvos at the West? Emmanuel Mutaizibwa has more in this special report.
President Museveni early this month arrived in Washington, D.C. with a palpable sense of relief. No longer the adversary in the West, Museveni had traveled to the United States of America for the U.S.-Africa Summit talks barely hours after the Constitutional Court had struck down the anti-gay law. For the few days he spent in the marbled corridors at the invitation of his host, President Barack Obama, he was no longer the loathed figure, but a respected long-time ally and anchorman of the West in the troubled Great Lakes region. It was a stark contrast of the carefully calibrated function in February when the president, in the full glare of the media, signed the anti-gay bill into law, where he used the occasion to criticize those who are questioning Uganda's sovereignty.
We cannot have a relationship based on subservience, that our society is subservient to the other society, that whatever they tell us, we must do, whether we agree or not. So that's their own choice, it's not ours.
This elicited a backlash from the West as Washington and Kampala exchanged sharp barbs. However, within the ruling party inner sanctum, it was clear that the president was engaging a delicate balancing act.
The calculations for trade, the calculations for regional politics and stability and security, the calculations about 216 sole candidature and support have come in the forefront, and therefore the interests of citizens might become shortchanged, might become marginalized, might become trodden upon in the name of international relations.
Some political commentators viewed the president's readiness to sign the bill as an act of political expedience to gain traction ahead of the 2016 elections.
The President Museveni I know, the one I've worked with, boy, is a person with dual personality, two personalities. He can put on this face and he can put on another face. That's the Museveni I know.
But when Washington and the rest of Europe sanctioned aid cuts, the president smelled the coffee. The question which arose was how could the president placate the West and at the same time be seen to pander to the whims of a conservative public which largely supports the anti-gay legislation. As a canny political operator, Museveni knew there was a lifeline. Barely a day before he departed for the Africa-US summit, the Constitutional Court conspicuously struck down the anti-gay law.
The judiciary left, other pending judgments of the judiciary left, and this one prioritized. And then striking it off on the basis of lack of quorum. That sends eyebrows to me, and I said, that is Museveni. The Museveni I know.
The current political stalemate over whether the anti-gay bill should be retabled in the House or not has set the executive and legislature on a collision course. If the anti-gay bill is shelved, it's not clear yet how this will play out amongst the notoriously fickle voters come 2016. However, the electorate is likely going to anchor its decision to cast a vote on bread and butter issues. Emmanuel Mutaizibwa, NTV, at Parliament.
Scores of Bagisu have carried out elaborate rituals in Mbale district in preparations of the launch of the traditional circumcision ceremony. This ceremony is scheduled for Tuesday, the 19th of this month. The ceremony, known as Mbalu, will see about 100 young men get circumcised as a rite of initiation into manhood. President Museveni is expected to grace the event on Tuesday. Agnes Nandutu with that story.
Today is a special day in Bugis sub-region for the candidates of the circumcision ceremony, locally known as Imbalu. The candidates are preparing for the official launch, which is supposed to take place on Tuesday, 19th of August.
Today is the day for brewing the marwa, and by tomorrow things will be moving on, and then Tuesday, when the marwa is ready, the basinde will also be ready.
And these are the rituals they're supposed to perform before the big cultural event. As the momentum for initiating these young boys into manhood gathers pace, the elders are also holding meetings to ensure that the event goes on smoothly.
We have talked to the clan, the original clan here, which must circumcise first, and that is the Bamutoto clan, and they are ready. We shall have about 5 or so boys who are going to be cut in our cultural grounds at Bamutoto here.
This year's function is being prepared by Bulambuli district and hosted in Mutoto, where more than 100 candidates will take part. But it's not only the Bamasaba from Uganda who are participating in this important cultural event. About 500 Bamasaba from neighboring Kenya are also set to participate in Imbalu function slated for the 19th of August.
Of the 6 million Bamasaba in this region, 4 million are in Kenya.
The strong culture of the locals dictates that the clan of Bungoho Mtoto will be the hosts of the ceremony. Their sons are the ones who will face the knife on Tuesday.
It is raw circumcision. They circumcise you live. It is a mobile theater, not like the Western type of theaters. They circumcise you in public and everybody must witness.
Agnes Nandutu, NTV, Mutoto, Bali District.
President Museveni has directed officials at the Finance and Trade Ministries to allocate funds to support smallholder farmers to add value to their produce. The president was speaking in Zimbabwe district at the Thanksgiving service of Foreign Affairs Minister Sam Kutesa upon being elected the president of the United Nations General Assembly.
Zimbabwe is one of Uganda's central region districts where many people rear cattle as their main economic activity. Dairy products like milk and meat from the cattle keepers are usually consumed locally due to the lack of technology that can transform them into other products that can be exported for more income. Now, the government has set out to help all commercial farmers in the country to better their farm yields for international consumption.
We must quickly add value to it for export. Because otherwise, it will be so much production and the internal market is not so big.
The president says the low prices on the market are a disincentive to many farmers, which ultimately cripples agricultural industry.
We are struggling with the factor of authority. We must start planning for other factories in these other areas.
Museveni was presiding over a Thanksgiving ceremony of the Foreign Affairs Minister Sam Kutesa upon his election as president of the 69th UN General Assembly. The president hailed African leaders for entrusting Kutesa with the task. The 65-year-old Foreign Affairs Minister is the first Ugandan and 12th African to head the 193 member states of the United Nations General Assembly.
Residents of Wakiso Nansana suburb are blaming the police for failing to rid their area of criminals who keep prowling their area at night. The locals say a gang of criminals is operating freely at a place called Chiboloka, giving them sleepless nights. But as Maurice Ochol reports, the police refute the allegations of insecurity as exaggerated.
The sprawling Nansana neighborhood on the outskirts of Kampala has over the years gained notoriety for its high crime rate. The locals accuse the police of letting criminal gangs roam freely around a place called Chibuloka.
Bali tulowooza nti obubbi buli kukendeerako nga buyita mu security naye ku bye tuzze tulaba obubbi bulabika bukoze eki buganye okukendeera.
Tubatwala be tuba tubanyira naye wojja ekiro ssaawa 2:04 basobola kutwala nga sikumanyi.
We ventured deep in the area to get more views from the residents.
Bali abapoliisi mwebali ne tebakola mirimu gye nga bateekeddwa kukola.
Our efforts of getting a comment from the police officers at the station were turned down. But we managed to get hold of Patrick Onyango, the spokesperson for Kampala Metropolitan.
Our patrols are moving everywhere, and people are free to move in Nansana at whatever time they want. There's no place that you cannot go to in Nansana, whether Chiboloka, whether where. That is just wishful thinking of the public that they cannot go there.
We were then escorted by police officers around the notorious Chibuloka area to see the situation for ourselves.
Manyi nti batega abantu ekiro ku ssaawa 11 ssaawa 8 ogw'ekiro ne babakuba obutayimbo.
It's here that we bumped into a resident who confessed to having been a criminal who waylay passers-by at night.
Inze nali muyaye naye kati ebyobuyaye nakola ki nabivaamu era nga nali nga nzibira wali emmanga nga nsala ensawo naye nalaba nga tebirina makulu nimbiwumula.
While the police force maintains heavy deployment in metropolitan areas in Kampala, residents in poorer neighborhoods like this one are complaining of insecurity, which has gotten out of hand.
You're watching Morning at NTV. We now cross over to the Kampala Serena rooftop to find out what is making news in today's newspapers. Good morning, gentlemen.
Yes, good morning, Mabel, and welcome to Fresh News. Start to a fresh new week coming in on Monday, the 18th day of August 2014. And yes, we're coming to you live from the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel. As always, the dangerous trio with the 3 newspapers to share with you this wonderful morning. We have got the Red Pepper, we've got the Daily Monitor, and the Tri-Weekly Observer this morning. Good morning, yes. Yes, it's the press review section of Morning at NTV. My name is Simon Kasiat, and I'm joined by Joel and Brian, the usual 2 other men that make up the trio for this segment. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Very smart looking, more like an Olaro Tunu if he chose to wear a tie and
Is it? Thank you, please.
As for you, Mulondo, you have a very interesting suit and matching tie. You look like the Honorable Sam Kutesa at the weekend during his Thanksgiving ceremony.
Yeah, I've seen that picture.
Wonderful suit and yellow tie.
Do you have some dollars with you?
You only lack some shades to yourself.
Yeah, and a few dollars.
And the gait of a rich man.
Yeah.
Well, he has finally spoken out. The Inspector General of Police says he is political but not partisan. That's the headline we are waking to in the Daily Monitor. Some analysts will actually argue that, in fact, he is partisan and not political. Perhaps the IGP is more partisan than he is political. But here he says he's political but not partisan. And of course, there are a couple of reactions to this final public revelation by the Inspector General of Police. Some sections calling him indeed a policeman of the state. Get yourself a copy of the Daily Monitor and get to understand why he said this, where he said this from, and for what purpose.
Let me quote Matthias Mpuga, head of this outlawed for God and my country pressure group. He says the IGP was only able to say the truth. He belongs to a political group of his choice, and that group uses him to do their work. The IGP is only saying what the public knows. It is a public admission.
Okay, so Mpuga does not belong to a political group of his choice that uses him to do its work?
Well, he's a politician and he's not afraid to say so, as opposed to Kaihura. But you see, the way we understand politics colloquially is, partisanship. As opposed to what politics really is. It is just the management of society. And so it's right to say he is political but not partisan. But you see, he's actually political in the real Ugandan sense of the word, so the partisan politics.
But for those who are castigating the IGP for doing work, he's doing the boss's work. And that's how it's all across the board.
But you see, ultimately, who should be the boss of Kaihura? It is you and I. Yes, he's got an appointing authority, but he's supposed to be serving you and I, and not a political party. His boss is supposed to be the president of Uganda, not the chairman of NRM party.
It should be ideally, but realistically, it can't be done.
I'm thinking of a world that is
let's relate it
one
to
we
what
can
we
dream
do
about.
Let's relate it to what we do here. So for Joel, his bosses are you, the viewers. It is you for whom he wakes up very early in the morning. It is for you for whom he's got to do what he's got to do. But in the real sense of the word is, it doesn't matter how much you don't really like him. If one person in those offices of NTV says, but Joel, now then you will know who the boss is.
That is why I'm saying his boss is the president of Uganda, not the chairman of NRM party.
And I want to believe that the boss is he who pays the piper that chooses the tune. So, unless, of course, well...
But I'm sure you hear me. Yes, and of course I concur with you that it's a tall order.
Yeah, from an idealistic point of view, we hear you.
And we should move to that kind of direction, slowly but surely.
We still have a long way to go.
Yeah, apartheid whining, back in the day it was unrealistic to talk about,
And how long did it take for apartheid to end?
Yeah, and why should it take that long? We should realize, okay, it is actually doable, so certain things should change. And this should, I know we might, anyway, to get a math.
Teachers failed to sing the national anthem. And this angered the Minister of State for Higher Education, John Chrysostom Muyingo, himself a teacher, himself an academic, but surprised by the fact that teachers who should be teaching and guiding our pupils and young ones through the singing of the national anthem every morning on assembly
could just only mumble through the 3 stanzas and were not actually articulate in singing word for word. And then you ask yourself, if you, teacher, cannot sing a national anthem, why should I listen to you when you're clamoring for a higher pay? What are you able to do for the little that you are given if you cannot even sing a national anthem? Perhaps those are questions that Resistor Muyingo was asking. And that's what I keep saying here on this show. We have people who are always clamoring for more, for more, for more. But you ask yourself, okay, you're clamoring for more. But what are you giving for the little that you have?
But you see, this is not very surprising. Not too long ago, there's a study that was done, and 80% of the teachers on whom the study was done could not score above 80% of the exams.
Of the subjects which they teach.
The very ones they superintend over. 80% of them couldn't score above 80%. Now that is very worrisome.
And that's what I've been saying, that you see, Simon, you can't come here and tell us, guys, give me 30 million shillings for being on the press review every morning if you have not attached value to what you do. And you know, yes, some teachers are awesome. I was taught by some of the most brilliant teachers.
So what happened?
But some teachers are actually poor at what they do.
It's true.
So you can't tell me to pay you more every term when you are not improving yourself as a teacher.
And you know, when you talk about teachers, people always want to quickly move to this downtrodden teacher in Nakapidipita at the local primary school.
We have them here.
Which gives them accommodation. You know, there are always teachers' quarters in every school. The teachers don't pay. There are guys who have a job that gives them accommodation, which gives them land on which they can till, which gives them all these other amenities. They don't pay utility bills, and they're like, I mean, I'm on the board of a certain primary school here in this town. We accommodate the teachers. We feed those teachers, at least during the day. We pay
How much do you pay them?
We pay them a utility bill, and we pay them a modest salary.
Your school is good.
Modest. What is
but
modest?
guess what? Because I'm on the board, you have no idea how much we are always dealing with the clamor for more pay. And we've talked.
So you are biased.
No. And why shouldn't? I mean,
no, because you're on the other side of the coin.
No, but you see now, Joel.
He's
the
a
thing
parent
is
this, and he's on the
Joel,
board.
there is no place where you're going to find a guy who is completely out of this world, lives on Mars, and therefore is the most neutral person to talk about matters on Earth.
No,
at the end of it, you have to be something to understand what that something is. Who else would understand the plight of education than someone who happens to have, 1, gone through education, 2, is on the board of a school? Every year, we get clamors from these teachers. Please give us more salary, give us more salary. And we've told them repeatedly, show us the grades, we see an improvement, and that will be first justification for a higher pay. All these other amenities may not necessarily come.
Or let us withdraw these packs, and then we give you more salary.
Let me ask, what are you doing to add value to those teachers? Because again, I tend to think, because you can't give away what you do not have. We've broken down national teachers' colleges in this country. They're not as functional as they used to be, you know. So do I not think we are probably expecting a lot more from the teachers? So what are you doing to add value to these teachers so that ultimately they give away that value? Because we might hound them here, but if they don't have it, they can't give it away.
No, we appreciate that our school, when they come for employment as teachers, they do not come to a training center. They come to exhibit the knowledge that they've already been trained for. That's why we carry out interviews and sieve out the best. When they are in there, then we carry out the usual management, the usual human resource, people culture incentives, give them motivation, whatever, take them for, for bonding, or they call them retreats, speak to them.
Like one I was at this weekend.
Exactly.
Not the teachers one though.
So that we build their levels of confidence. We, those kind of motivation skills. At the end of the day, we judge them by their results. Because the good thing with teachers, their results are out there to be seen. Your pupils either perform or they don't perform. And that will be the hallmark of whether or not. Now, if you're a teacher and you are unable to sing a national anthem, you're a teacher in a Catholic school and you are unable to recite the Lord's Prayer, then clearly you are a misplaced person. These are small little basics. Have those ones and then clamor for a higher pay.
All right, so the teachers should account for that. I'm talking about accountability.
Someone the other day was, one of my guests said, you might be the wrong person for the right job.
That happens too.
There are so many wrong people for the right jobs in this country, so much so that you actually ask yourself, do we have the right people for the right job of being legislators and members of parliament? That I always ask myself, and you know it.
Accountability now. The National Water and Sewerage Corporation is asking police to account for, the fire brigade water. Apparently, these guys keep going to fetch this water, and they're wondering, we don't see many of these fires. You're here every time. Where are you taking the water? So there's an assumption that this water is sold off because National Water and Sewerage Corporation says they lose about 1 billion shillings in water theft monthly. on a monthly basis. That is stupendous.
The same story that can be said by electricity utility companies who also lose huge sums of money due to electricity theft. And you see, the sad bit is that these companies are not charities. When you hear nationals saying that they lose this amount of money in water theft, it does not mean it's a total loss to them. No, they factor that into the bill of you, the ardent consumer who actually pays your bill on a daily.
And they
so,
estimate
so at the end of the day, when you see somebody stealing electricity, when you see somebody stealing water, do not turn a blind eye and say, after all, for me, I pay my own bill. No, eventually, in the long term, you will pay a percentage of what they have stolen. It works just like that. When you see Malago not paying their bill, just know at the end of the day, it will be factored in your bill at some point or another. Now, we are waking up to a disturbing reality in the Daily Monitor this morning that abortion is the second highest cause of death, says the Health Minister, Sarah Opendi. Abortion is not caused by cigarette smoking. It's not whatever. You always come here and say, but no, it's, I think, caused by bad legislators. But also in Healthy Living magazine this morning, which is your favorite Monday pull-out magazine in the Daily Monitor, they are telling us that obesity has increased and there are risks of 10 more cancers as a result of all of you eating irresponsibly and growing fat and becoming couch potatoes. That too is not caused by cigarette smoking. So you may go around half and puff about cigarette smoking and ban VAT and all that, but at the end of the day, if you do not stop and... No, honestly speaking, you look at people always clamoring, oh, cigarette smoking. The person looks so unhealthy, so morbidly obese. They have been fed with chips and junk chicken. And you ask yourself, what is more of a threat to this person?
Perhaps if they were smoking as well, then it would be double tragedy.
Perhaps if they were smoking, they would have less of an appetite and would not be eating as much as they are eating. They would be lean people. So, anyway.
I don't know.
But of course, you know my conflict of interest with matters of smoking.
Yeah, that's
so,
out.
No, I declare that I have relations with BAT as a smoker, number one, but also it somehow pays some bills here and there. It's a publicly listed company where members of the public have got shares and happen to be a member of the public.
All right, there you go. Now, the president says arts courses are useless. Daily Monitor reports here. Apparently, that, you know...
That's Museveni saying.
This is according to the president. He
That's
was
the guy studied.
in Lowero. You know, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, because he's saying, you know, some of these courses, they can hardly solve anything to steer national development and so on. And I'm thinking, no, this is not right. I think we have hounded arts a great deal, you know. I don't know whether you need to know how to operate, I don't know, a test tube and that kind of thing to do a show like this one. But I want to believe you guys are adding value to this country.
That's why
we have got...
I would like to agree with Dr. President Museveni. And he studied sciences.
Which sciences?
Maybe he thinks
no, he studied political science.
And there's a science.
Even me, I studied social sciences. So clearly, scientists. You characters who studied art, I wouldn't agree more with the president.
I actually did sciences incidentally. Don't
also
ask me what I'm doing here. But could that show that sciences are also useless? I don't know. But you see, as we're promoting sciences, for example, you find schools, you know, you find a district has only one school. Some have none that have a laboratory. And here you are saying arts are useless. This is not right. We've seen artists that have made it in this country, not artists, you know, in the colloquial term, you know, of artists, singers and what, but people that did arts. And they're making it real good. So I think we need to encourage everybody in this country.
But I think also, without necessarily going to lump the president in one corner of lambasting, let's critically look at his statement with regard to some level of context. I mean, we have a country that, for the most part, if it must develop, there must be certain indices that we must be involved in some form of innovation, some form of, you know, some value add. And much of this value add, to be very honest with you, comes with the bit of being science-oriented. You may say we are adding value to this country as we who are here speaking every morning to millions of viewers out there. But I can tell you it is only the four of us, perhaps, you, me, yourself, Mabel, who's standing by in the studio, and the rest of the support team are science-oriented people. These guys who are operating these cameras, this guy who is in the control room right now, these guys who are sitting on the computer ensuring that our tweets and Facebook things are on, these are science-oriented. And I can tell you, much of the form that you see that NTV does present to its viewers that make us the #1 TV station is as a result of the innovation of science-oriented people.
That's what I'm saying.
Our
we
signal,
need each other.
yeah,
they need us, we need them.
But if you are to put it on the economies of scale, I can tell you,
scientists.
What they can do, these guys who man these cameras, these guys, this Dan Ankunda guy who mixes this spaghetti connection of cables that make us be seen in people's living rooms, what he can do I honestly cannot do. But I have a feeling if push came to shove, that guy can come here and present this show. So at the end of the day, let's not get ourselves an exaggerated sense of self-worth because we're the faces and whatever. But behind the scenes is a lot more science than there is arts.
Apart from that, actually, I just use this as an example. But you see, for me, my point is, we are talking about sciences, etc. I gave you the example of there are no laboratories in this country, you know.
Yes.
We are talking about science teachers. Are we actually equipping them with the knowledge that's required? Talking about doctors, etc., etc. These guys are running away. Why we're not paying them well enough? So when the rubber meets the road, what happens? You know, we talk about these things. Just like we say corruption is bad, I'm going to fight corruption, this financial, and then you do nothing about it.
So in essence, you are saying that
in the first place?
we as a country have failed to walk the talk.
We have.
And
so
we
when I
should
keep
better
hearing this,
and if the president says that when during exams, some schools do practical exams a week or 3 weeks later, not on schedule.
Some students
Why?
actually meet
Because
those things for the first time in the exam.
The test tubes are, you know, taken. I will tell you personally that I sat on a microscope when I was at university. And that is very embarrassing.
Before university,
Why?
were you in
Because the
school?
school. Yes, I was in school. But the school had one microscope.
There you go.
And you're saying arts class. So some of us choose to
But wait
do
a minute,
arts.
so what were you doing with the microscope at university when you were doing?
No, because I was fascinated. I had a friend who works in the lab, and I was like, whoa, let me just sit here and
when you're going for a malaria slide.
Embarrassing, you see, and then you see the president. So some of us choose not to be doctors because we want, but we go to schools where all these things are not there.
And let's be honest with ourselves, Brian. You imagine yourself Dr. Brian Molondo.
I would be
and a gynecologist and obstetrician. Just how would you
not
position?
That one. Not a gynecologist.
Treating, I don't know what.
Mental illness.
But you see, we are pushed to do some courses, not because we want to. You know, yes, every child has a dream of becoming a doctor or a pilot.
Okay. Calm down, my young man.
Which child has a dream of becoming a legislator?
You say this because now...
Okay, let me read it just in case you... Because...
we had agreed there is no talking about these people here.
So what are you telling me to read?
I was just trying to show you that...
No. We are doing a disservice to our viewers.
No. Let's agree. Let's proceed. I think let's talk about a more interesting subject. Vesje warns of clashes over the River Nile. This is the former FDC president. Forget about that.
I forget about what?
These are the stories that talk about these other characters in this...
Let me talk about the red pepper.
The red pepper, what is it?
Wax ministers swim in cash. Minister buys 10 billion shillings houses, and UNRA, the Roads Authority, has a scan of 24 billion shillings.
Say that again.
Wax ministers swim in cash. A minister buys 10 billion shillings houses.
That minister is also an MP. You know this man is tired of MPs, and I think I hear him.
There's something about UNRA that you were saying.
There's a scam of 24 billion shillings. And the untold stories in the red pepper.
Well, and the big story this morning, we'll be talking matters UNRA. I will have with me later to arrive Mr. Dan Alinange, my very good friend, and we'll be discussing a lot more of this peerage of funds, allegedly, from the Uganda National Roads Authority, and maybe asking whether there is a nexus between that loss of funds and the fact that red pepper is waking up this morning to a screaming headline that ministers of wax are literally swimming in cash. Anyway, the Observer this morning, the other people group fires all stuff. The Interreligious Council on its knees as United States of America withdraws its 90 billion project. The anti-gay group fires all stuff now.
Well, they are cash strapped, so what do you expect? And relatedly, I see here in the Daily Monitor, do not harm homosexuals. This is according to Archbishop Ondama. He says, look, these gays were created in God's image, but only deviated from a godly lifestyle. And I hear him. I don't agree with those saying we should beat them up, I don't know, do etc. to them. They're on the wrong track. Let's try as much as possible to cajole them, but we should love them. I love them. I don't like what they do.
Your cousin, the Attorney General, Honorable Peter Nyombi. You remember one time he was giving a speech at the opening of a law, or some law, there was a function.
A law, yes.
Yes. And this ill-bred Karamaji guy, may I describe him as ill-bred, simply bad-mannered and all that young man. I know he's watching and he's going to put up him. I don't give a damn. But Nyombi now calls him something more uncharitable than I thought I was calling him. I thought he's bad-mannered, ill-bred and all that. But Nyombi describes him as a lunatic.
What?
It is
in
the Observer.
Now
I'm asking myself, on what parameters? My speech grabber is a lunatic, says Attorney General Nyombi. Why? How? It is in
but
the Observer
But
this
the speech
morning.
grabber also thinks this gentleman, you know, has a semblance of what he's describing here. So, I don't know.
So it is a case of the pot calling the kettle black.
Quote of the day in the Daily Monitor. This is KCCA's Robert Kalumba on food sold in supermarkets. You know, of late we are worried. Where do you go, etc., etc. A supermarket that is visited by thousands of Ugandans should not display or sell rotten meat or let the food section have any order. And you know, order.
So Kalumba is saying that a supermarket that's visited by maybe tens of Ugandans should at least be the one to have rotten meat, but not one that's visited
what
by...
the man is saying.
I mean, it's all about context here. Well, Nsibambi, you remember him, Yusuf, the former chairman of the Kampala District Land Board?
He's not handed over yet, officially. His
Well,
term expires in a bit.
Exactly. He's having quite some very good exit publicity. And today in The Observer, he is talking about why he leased wetlands in the city. So if you were asking yourself, he leased wetlands in the city for development. So if you are looking for someone who's been behind all these rape and all that of wetlands in this city, he's explaining himself in The Observer. Get yourself a copy.
In the red paper, how the Amama camp lost youth resolution. You can get more details of that, and officials indicted for alleged corruption.
It has jammed.
Well, we're seeing the Kingdom of Buganda Prime Minister Mayiga Peter Charles Owekitiibwa imploring Ugandans and especially those kingdom subjects to work very diligently, and it's here in the Daily Monitor. Let's not forget that ESCOM did pass on their itofari of over 5 million Ugandan shillings just last week.
Talking about working, somebody writes here and says, to fight human trafficking, youth unemployment must be dealt with. You know, we have many Ugandans out there that are living in squalid conditions, working in as much subservience as there possibly can be. But unemployment, it's tethered to that, somebody says.
Well, as we conclude this press review this morning, we're looking at interesting pullouts here. In fact, public health is one of the major concerns that the Daily Monitor is really pushing so hard, especially when it comes to averting the debilitating effects of which. So in Healthy Living this morning, you will read a lot more than just obesity. Can public toilets pose a health risk? And many other interesting stories that may be just the best thing that you want for your well-being this wonderful morning. And Mabel, we know that tremendous things are happening on the international scene. We are starting a fresh new week, and the question abounds: what is trending on the international scene that we should look out for, especially as the week develops into yet another action-faced week? What do we have, Mabel?
Thank you very much, Simon. Well, we have been talking about him the whole of last week. He was not a suspect. He was not an object. He was not an animal, but that is how he was killed, according to the friends of Michael Brown. Now, this does not seem to be going away anytime soon. According to some reports, Michael Brown was shot at least 6 times, twice in the head and 4 in the arm, and all of these were frontal shots. And peaceful protests on Sunday turned a bit violent, and it ended in gunfire in the small town of Ferguson, Missouri. And it's a big story trending on many of these international websites. Also on the CNN page, we have a strong earthquake that hit Iran early this morning. It was measuring about 6.2 on the Richter scale, about 40 kilometers away from the Iraqi border. So far, there are no casualties mentioned. Now, Malaysia searches for a Pakistani suspect over alleged MH370 theft. Now, what this, should I say, smart Pakistani did is he hacked, I guess he got the names of some of the passengers on that plane and transferred the money from their accounts. He transferred the money from accounts of 2 Chinese, a Malaysian, and 2 Malaysians. One of them happened to be a crew member. So they're trying to track him down. I think he could have known that they had a lot of money. He has so far transferred $35,000. On the Sky News page, UK military mission in Iraq is to last 4 months, and the defense minister says it is not simply a humanitarian mission. British troops are back in Iraq for the first time since 2009. IS is a clear danger to the UK military and diplomatic efforts, though they're working alongside others to help refugees fleeing the massacre in Iraq. Now, this is a very interesting story. Over the weekend, looters broke into a clinic in downtown Monrovia, which is the capital of Liberia, stole blood-stained mattresses and sheets, claiming Ebola is a hoax. They say President Ellen Sirleaf Johnson is broke and she wants money. They say there is no Ebola at all, and people fled from that place. It's interesting here. Why would anyone do that? And obviously it has sparked fears that the virus is just going to spread. We are also getting news that Kenya has closed its borders to all passengers or travelers coming in from Sierra Leone, Guinea, and Liberia. Police fire smoke bombs at the Missouri protests. This is something we have been talking about. A big story also on the Sky News page. Now, you may look at this and wonder, are these robbers who are old ladies? No, they're not. They're actually wearing what is called a face skin. The Chinese like to keep their skin, you know, I guess clear. They don't want to get sunburnt at all. So this is something that is actually very popular now. And they protect their skin from the sun when they go out to the beach. So it looks, they say they were inspired by Spider-Man somehow, and it just looks a bit spooky if you ask me. There are many products in China to keep skin fair, and I think some of those products have found their way to the Ugandan market as well. On the BBC page, another story, yes, this Ebola confusion as the patients vanish in Liberia. There are conflicting reports about the 17 Ebola patients who vanished from a quarantine center in the Liberian capital of Monrovia. This angry mob attacked the center on Saturday evening, and like we've said, they said Ebola is a hoax. Now, Pope Francis ends his South Korean tour, yesterday being his last day. He called for reconciliation on the Korean peninsula, and he said that people should reject a mindset of suspicion and confrontation and find new paths to build peace. He spoke at a mass in Seoul's main cathedral, attended by President Park Geun-hye and North Korean defectors. That's all we had for you. Morning at NTV will continue after this break.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
Lights, camera, and action. That's what it's all about right here on NTV. Coming soon, we bring you Challenge, powered by Bank of Uganda. My name is Dr. Ronnie Michegwang, and I'm going to be asking one simple question. Will you take the challenge?
I just wanted to say thank you for telling me about the PA job at NFH. It's just that Q and I will be in each other's lives again.
I'll drop the act, Zuleika. I know exactly what you've been up to. You made your intentions very clear on Friday night.
How dare you come back here again?
Just pay me, damn it. I can't. Suck it up.
What's going on? I have to go to hospital.
If you think I'm going to let you be the power behind the throne, well then, you're not on the throne yet.
And here I was thinking there are no gentlemen left in this world.
Which way are you headed?
Well, that depends on you, birthday boy. Your place or mine.
Oh, this bitch.
Madika has expressed interest in the EIC job.
You're a shameless, arrogant excuse for a human being.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulondo.
Thank you for joining us this Monday, the first day of the week. We continue the show by crossing over to Simon, who is standing by with today's big story. Good morning, Simon.
Yes, good morning, Mabel. Indeed, welcome to the big story section of Morning at NTV. This morning we are looking at roads, and you know that there's been a trending story of this road between Mukono and Katosi, where for the most part the news that has been hitting our headline space is that there is something fishy in there that perhaps the contractor is not up to the real game, and in fact that company that did take the contract does not exist where it is alleged to have originated. All these and many other stories that are entangling and trying to cast a very negative shadow on the Uganda National Roads Authority is what we'll be looking at this morning with the help of the Director of Communications or Corporate Affairs, Mr. Dan Alinange, who will be explaining this and many others. We'll be right back. Welcome back. For the residents between Mukono and Katosi, you have been promised a road upgraded from that mud track that it used to be to first-class bitumen, or so I am told. Many years this promise has been on the cards, but this time around it seems to be coming into fruition. But as the project does take its first steps, we are getting to hear of a lot of not very charitable remarks coming in from the contractor, from the side of government, from the side of commentators, and that possibly may put that wonderful project onto a pedestal that you don't want it to be in. Today, Head of Corporate Communications at Uganda National Roads Authority, Dan Alinange, visits us this morning to throw some more light and explain to us what is this that we're hearing with regard to Mukono Katosi. We know that on November of 2010, UNRA invited bids for the construction of this road with the deadline of December that very year. They issued, all this procurement went through, and finally a company whose name I cannot possibly pronounce very well. It is EUTAW, or is it UTAW? UTAW Construction Company Incorporated. Namukwaga Engineering and Hawk International Company, all these put in their bids, and another one was Unique Construction Engineering, and UTAW Construction seemed to have carried the day. Now, fast forward, we know that in February of this year, the IGG wrote PPDA alleging that the contract was awarded in a dubious manner. But work had already started going on and done this morning. Yeah. Throw us some light. What is this that we are hearing on the Mukono Katosi road? Just to give us an overview before I can start my one-on-one questions.
Thanks very much, Simon. Good morning to our viewers. Mukono Katosi is one of the priority roads which government promised to tarmac.
For priority roads or political roads?
No, it's a priority road. You have to know that that is an alternative to Jinja, an alternative road to Jinja. It has been promised for about 10 years in the last 2 manifesto cycles. Now, we procured the contractor about 2-3 years ago, but the financial year 2011-2012, there was no money. We had finished the procurement. Now, we shelved that procurement, waiting for funding. We didn't get the money till the end of the financial year. Now, the last financial year, we got the funds.
That is 2013, 2014?
Yes, 2013, 2014. Now, we were not procuring only Mukono Katosi. We were also procuring the MPG Kanoni Road, Ntunga Momirama Hills, Masakabu Kakata, and the Chitugumu Gulu, Orio, so many roads.
Via Aswa?
Yes, because in the last 6 months, we've awarded contracts of for about 12 major road projects, despite the...
Through the same procurement?
Through the same procurement, but of course, the ones which were procured earlier were Mpiji Kanoni and Mukono Katosi. Now, at one point, when we got the money, we wanted to
re-advertise the bid. Okay.
And the political leadership of the ministry sat down with us and said, you already procured these projects. Why don't you sit down review those procurements, negotiate with these people, and see if they are interested in doing this work?
Rather than going through a fresh process that could last 12 months.
Procurement for a major road project takes 9 to 12 months. And that means we would not be able to absorb that money.
But why does it take this long, Dan?
Because, I mean, the reason why it takes long is exactly what you're seeing in the papers today. You have to go through pre-qualification. You have to go through review of the technical bids submitted.
The financial.
The financial. This is not easy work because these documents are put together by lawyers. They can shortchange you in any way.
So
however good you are, you need to take enough time.
By the letter.
Yes, and when you advertise, you have to give the contractors at least 3 to 4 months to submit the bids, because it also takes them a lot of
time to put them together.
Now, the political leadership
says cut short that process.
Yeah,
go back to what you already have.
Go and review the international bids you did. We reviewed them. We contacted the contractor from PG Kanoni and the contractor for
Mukono Katosi.
From Mukono Katosi.
And this was Utah.
And they were interested. So we did the negotiations, and we signed the contract for PG Kanoni. And before we signed the contract for Mukono Katosi, we had issues.
What were the issues?
We had concerns about the addresses of the company. I think the contractor submitted powers of attorney, all those things which have to be reviewed for him to... We've had those cases because the number of international companies, when they win contracts, they open offshore companies because
accounts and all that.
Because of tax issues in their countries. They don't want to be involved or to pay a lot of taxes. This happens a lot to European and American companies. Now, we thought we should do more due diligence on this, but we agreed that let's go ahead with the signing while we do the detailed...
So for you, these other technical bottlenecks were not deterrent whatsoever to the procedure of the contract?
They were not. They were not.
Because you had time to be, you had deadlines to beat,
we had deadlines to spend. And all the minister did was, because the minister's job, the minister is a politician.
We're talking about who? Honorable Bianda?
Honorable Bianda. All he did, his interest is to see that the manifesto is implemented on time. I think he had a feeling that we were
delaying the process. In other words, sabotaging
the manifesto, basically. Because for him, if he committed any crime, as they say, it is a political crime. Because his interest was to see that the manifesto is implemented.
But you, as the technical arm, are to ensure that we get due diligence and value for money.
We were delaying. He didn't stop us from doing our due diligence, basically. That is a process which had to continue. It continued. We signed the contract. We continued the engagement.
Pay them a down payment.
They submitted the payment guarantees for the banks and the insurance. We wrote back to those banks and the insurances to verify the authenticity of those documents. They wrote back and they said the documents were okay. Now, we paid them the advance payment of 24 billion. The purpose of this money is to allow a contractor to buy one equipment, to set up camps, set up quarries, buy supervision vehicles, hire people, and commence works.
While for you, on the other hand, you're doing the usual compensation?
Yes, for us, we do the compensation, which we are doing now. Then, when the work starts, that contractor submits certificates after doing particular amount of work, maybe of...
In phases?
Yeah, in phases, maybe of $1.5 million. Now, when those certificates are brought in, we deduct money to recover the money we advanced him, and we give him back some of the money because he has to have cash flow.
That's a technical bit that we don't have enough time to go into, Dan. But now, bottom line is, now, we find ourselves, there is a probe from the IG, there is a parliamentary probe, there is this, there is residents complaining. What exactly is going on the ground?
Right now, the work is going on. The work is going on. Unfortunately...
So what is this? I'm seeing some Ugandan guy being paraded in police, making statements and all that.
Apollo is the representative. Of the local representative.
And we've had stories that this company, in fact, doesn't even exist where you claim it comes from. I mean, what is all this?
A ghost company can't hire 400 people to work. You know?
Maybe it has 400 ghosts.
They have maybe 400 ghosts working. I wouldn't mind working with ghosts to do a road since human beings are not easy to work with. But the work is going on. The contractor put equipment on site as we agreed contractually. The only problem with this contract is that the money we advanced is not protected. The contractor, when he was getting these guarantees, they use agents. Because for us, we wrote back to him and he says maybe his agents gave him the wrong documentation.
It's mayhem.
You have to leave. There are so many investigative agencies in this country. The IGG is doing a professional job. Despite her being misquoted that she's told, you have to come to us and we approve. The contractor has never come to us to subcontract.
But we are told that it's an American company ostensibly and the people on the site are Chinese.
There is nothing wrong with that. Look like there are Americans there on site, there are Egyptians on site, there are Chinese on site, there are Ugandans on site.
So it's a multinational.
Yeah, this is to your subcontracting. Put in a form what?
Request.
But
did you do an investigation and a due diligence as UNRA to see whether indeed there is a subcontraction going on?
Yeah, we've done that. But if the man says, I brought my equipment, I have Chinese workers, I have
have you been to the site? Have you been to the site?
Of course.
What?
We are the supervisors. There is a camp which is over 10 acres big. There is equipment. There is work going on. Is that we've not yet compensated everybody.
And that is now what my next question was. Why haven't you compensated everybody? Isn't this going to be a huge bottleneck for the progress of this project?
It is, and it has to have a team number.
Hey, these villagers along Mukono Katusi Road must all come and register and get a team.
Villagers should have, then we negotiated with MINFA starting this week. The people of Mukono Katosi will start getting their
abayendoza mukiwulire mu lufuutifuuti omuko akulira ebyempuliziganya mu kitongole kya Uganda National Authority Dani alinange akatiriza okubasasula sente zammwe so muleete ebiwandiiko ebibakwatako kulaga nti
ebiwandiiko babiteekayo dda.
Very good. So next we don't want to hear things of, and I'm sure that what you have said here is gospel truth and these people will get their money. What's the deadline over your
You must know. So compensation is going to go on at least for the next 6 months. But the first people and those in the area where the contractor is working now, those are the people I'm more concerned about, and those are the people we are going to start paying immediately. So that's
the development that you as UNRA are charged with.
Yes.
For the most part, in fact, we start from the point of contractors. We get huge sums of money being talked about here. We see long procurement processes going in, and then we get contractors that for the most part...
These big projects of 50, 70 kilometers, which cannot be handled by many of the local companies. We advertise internationally. Because, if you're fake, it is easy to get exposed very quickly. Because, first of all, you have to show experience.
What you have been able to do.
Have done.
And many of these roads have placards on them. This road was constructed by so and so.
What you have accomplished. And the process takes a bit of good time. The procurement process is taking 9 to 12 months.
But
all in all, we've been successful
in getting the right
contractor.
But even when you do all this very successfully, there is always an air of suspicion and skepticism that keeps hovering over UNRA. You guys are eating colossal sums of money. And to be very honest, it's because I do not have very specific. If it's supposed to be 5 meters wide, you have it at 4.9.
Look here, Simon.
Oh, what's all this?
I've worked with you before, even in the European Union.
Where we funded a major infrastructure
You remember
projects.
when we did the campaign money? You are supervising us. But that is the mentality we have. It is big money. Everybody thinks you can eat half the road, in quotes, and walk away with 20 billion.
Without putting a lot of shame in
they are building
money for the last 3 years.
So they have politicized this whole thing. Somebody picked on an alleged mistake done by UNRA or shortcomings here and there, because this is a legal thing. Mukono Katosi is just one of them. It is 70 kilometers out of the 2,300 kilometers under construction right now.
But Dan, are you trying to say that you as UNRA are simply above this tenet of corruption that has pervaded every single facet of this country? And if not, what do you do as an internal mechanism to ensure that you catch these loopholes?
We have mechanisms to fight corruption inside, but I'm going to tell you that the most difficult money to eat is the money for road projects. One, it comes with these big guys who fly in with their private jets. They are not going to give Alinanga money to give them a contract. No. They know they have experience. If somebody wants to give you a bottle of wine for Christmas or something, it is up to him, but not because he wants a contract from you. If there is corruption, it is mainly in the maintenance, where people keep patching and what and what.
Which UNRA?
Yeah, of course we are responsible for that. And that involves mainly the local contractors.
So it is with the local contractors, the local everyone who doesn't.
And if you go to the PPDA website, you'll see how many companies UNRA has reported, and they have been blacklisted over the last 6 years for issues of corruption, forging documents, substandard work, and things like that.
A very final one, Dan. Matters of roads, of course, as we conclude, we don't have enough time on our hands.
Yes.
Roads is about construction, yes, but after that, there must be repeated maintenance. We seem to have a challenge with regard to maintenance of our roads after constructing them. That's why many of them break up so severely that we've got now to redo them, as is the case happening on the same Barara Kabari roads. And we know that between Ntungamo and Barara, it's tremendously impossible to pass there because of the reconstruction of the road going on, as opposed to maintenance.
Yes.
What do you have as going forward plan at UNRA to ensure that you do not wait for roads to break down into pieces and you keep maintaining them so that at least at any one time this country has motorable roads?
And I think that is where we are going right now, because I must commend government. Government has been good at giving us money for building new roads and reconstructing, but not enough has been done in the past as far as maintenance is concerned. And that is where government is moving with even our donor counterparts. Some of the new roads we are going to build now, after the contractor has finished, we are going to leave him to remain on the road and maintain it for a minimum of 10 years.
Wow.
So he will have an interest in doing even a good job, because it will cost him a lot along the way if he doesn't do it.
Or he will do a shoddy job, because he knows also the maintenance will also come with more money.
Maintenance is not cheap. Maintenance is not cheap. You can't patch a road which was completed a year ago. There are penalties which will be involved in that. But we are also working with government to see that we don't rebuild roads when they have totally fallen apart. We stick to a certain maintenance regime, and we know that this road, if it was built to last 20 years, at 10 years, we put on another layer. Before it reaches 20 years, we start the what?
The process
of reconstruction. Yes.
Thank you so much, Dan, for that elucidation on the issues, specifically on the Mukono Katusi Road and generally on the works. Of course, usually time is never an ally on this part of the program, which is regarded as the SMS of TV. But certainly, I'm sure you will return another time to elucidate more on any other projects. Since you have 32 road projects.
To bring good news, not to come for bad news.
Well, and that is the challenge that is on your side. We, of course, for us, bad news makes very good news, especially for our viewers. We'll be right back with Simon Says. Where there are big bucks involved, there is always a lot of big talk involved. Some of this talk may be true, some of this talk may not be true. But of course, we as Ugandans, we know ourselves. We are never short of stories to tell, some highly exaggerated, others highly suspicious, others a mere figmentation of our imagination. But there they are, the stories are in there. And when it comes to road construction, for example, we are never short of allegations left, right, and center. I, for one, would have no problem with all this talk that goes around with regard to road construction and all that. What I'm interested in is to see that there is actually a road on the ground. And of course, we've had all these jokes being spewed left, right, and center, where we, not even just jokes, but even allegations to the political leadership of the Ministry of Works or even the technical leadership of Uganda National Roads Authority, that where there are 2 layers, they possibly eat half a layer, and the half a layer eaten across 100 kilometers. That explains the mushrooming apartments in this town, the huge fuel guzzlers on the streets as a result of this money. All this is talk that goes around. But like they already say, he who alleges must certainly be in position to prove. Though, of course, others will counter that and say there is never smoke without any fire. Well, this is a counterbalance. I mean, you never come to put your finger onto it. Perhaps we would even say those who peerage funds meant otherwise for good projects like roads and end up using them for their own personal aggrandization have become so sharp that we are simply unable to follow a trail and catch them anywhere. Like indeed Chinua Achebe did right. When the hunter learns how to shoot without missing, the birds learn how to fly without patching. Perhaps that's what's happening in the road sector. I have no idea what it is. But what really I would implore we, not only the citizens, is to hold our government to task. The moment you hold government to task and ask the definitive questions, if you're a resident along Mukono Katosi, this road has been promised to you. You've heard that money has been dispatched. This road is supposed to be world class. your local leadership should galvanize you to ensure that you also do your own physical observation and supervision as lay people, because this road will be used by you. You don't have to be an engineer to tell that this is certainly a substandard road. Put up all these methods of showing that you are interested in this project and you want to ensure that this project kicks off. But also, most importantly, road projects come with a lot of opportunities. There are very many opportunities that come with a project like this one. There are those of you who will possibly sell food to these guys. We've seen, of course, the macabre stories of some contractors having to eat some of your domestic animals, even those that we possibly do not eat. But yes, all that is to show that there is a possibility and an opportunity for you to harness some money out of this project. Of course, those who are going to be compensated, you need to be very frugal to ensure that what you obviously deserve is given to you as per the valuation given by government, not your own personal valuations, because at the end of the day, all of us have got a price that we tag to our property, and that may not be the international set standard. So there's so much talk around that. But as I conclude, I think it's very important for government to realize that the population is increasing and it's not getting any better if we don't have a proper transport system that is going to move us from point A, point B. Also a transport system that's going to move our products, produces, goods and services from one point to another, so that we are able to be self-sustaining and compete on the international market. All that and more, of course, falls under the ambit of you being as productive as you possibly can, because your productivity and my productivity and everyone's productivity is what's going to make the grand sum of productivity for this country that will engineer us to move from point A to point B, point A being where we are right now. Point B is the place we dream to be at, of course, on a positive perspective. Have your fresh week start with a wonderful attitude. Get productive, and let's meet same time, same place tomorrow.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji and Brian Molondo.
Hello, doctor. Hello. Are you feeling okay today?
I should be the one asking you that.
Me, I'm very fine. I'm just calling to check on you. You're sure you're okay? No headache, no fever?
But you, man.
Okay, doctor. Just checking.
Make a call for whatever reason. Call someone, call anyone, and change your life. Make a call and you could win 100 million shillings, a car, or a smartphone with free data for a year. Plus, win 2 free minutes every day.
Airtel. Together we can.
Stand up to be counted. Brought to you by UBOS. It's your right.
Census is here. Be counted. The information you give is confidential and is only used for planning, policy making and equitable resource allocation. This leads to improved service delivery to you and your community. So get ready to be counted, starting from 28th August to 6th September 2014. Together we count.
Stand up to be counted. Brought to you by UBOS. It's your right.
The average age of the entire national team is under 18.
The primary role of Team Uganda is to remain, is to Division 2.
Probably that's the only thing that can make one or two rugby fans smile, that the clubs are doing well.
The players haven't put on the, they haven't wore the game faces. They're not the animals we saw last season, because Ferguson had the same group of players and he did deliver the Holy Grail, which is the title.
blow your mind, and I'm going to twist your taste buds. The flavors are already coming together. I can feel them. Very lovely, very appetizing, very healthy. Remember, the way you see it, the way you like it, is the way you get it from my kitchen to your kitchen.
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it. Wow! Hello, fellow motor enthusiastic.
Oh, Mr. Krabs, isn't there any way for us to return all of them back to normal?
Hey! How do you do that?
The Red Ranger's a bigger problem than I thought.
It's time to finish this thing up.
What can I do to make them love me again?
What are you drawing, Kitty?
Mega Rangers? That's a mega win!
Hello, King Julian, you are truly inspiring.
SpongeBob! Fantastic!
On the next episode, brought to you by
At Orange, we know you want to do more on the internet. That's why we bring you happy hour day and night.
Destiny River.
My brother, I don't want to think ill of your mother. I don't want to. But the way she looks at me, the way she comes closer.
Is Father right in what he said?
I wonder if my father really died of a heart attack, Estella, or of another reason. You were the sole witness, Estella.
Witness? Listen carefully to what you're saying.
You can download movies at the lowest prices and none of us from Orange. Dial *133# to buy a data bundle. Happy hour changes with Orange. Today changes with Orange.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji and Brian Molondo.
Hello and welcome back to Morning at NTV. Moving to now some of your responses on Facebook. We hosted Dan Alinange from the Uganda National Roads Authority, and he said government has given more money to build roads and reconstruction. And Ivan, very pessimistic, saying that money will get lost. Dan Alinange also said when we did the bypass, people said we ate one side of the road, And we have Uganda Thomas saying, your public relations department is not doing good enough to clear these speculations. Now, I was one of those who actually believed they had actually eaten half the road and nothing was done, but he has cleared that out. But I think it's a challenge to them to make sure the message is out that this is all the money that the EU gave us for this project. It wasn't maybe dual carriage in certain areas as opposed to single lane, as most of us wrongly thought. Right, Kamshaba says, advertising internationally does not fill up the potholes. They should pick some other phrase instead of saying that road construction is a challenge and that's why they go internationally. Because local companies can actually not manage to meet the expectations that are required in the construction of such work. We have, Dan also mentioned that Minister's interest was to see the manifesto fulfilled. Probably that's why he wrote the letter. And Thomas is saying it is not worth it to fulfill the manifesto at the expense of the taxpayers' money. He went on to say that they actually did the due diligence that was supposed to be done before the contract was given out to this briefcase company, as we like to call it. Kevis Katende is saying, let us wait and see what will happen to the Mukono Katosi Road. Uzziah says, let that road return to the hands of the central government. Work is going on. The Chinese are actually there working on it, and according to Dana Linange, the project is going on well, and they are actually using it the way it should be done. It's made out of good material. It's a high quality road, in other words. We now cross over to Brian for today's everyday life. Good morning, Brian.
Morning, Mabel, once again. Well, today's question would be, I guess, are you feeling depressed this morning? Well, you're not alone, especially if you're a Man U fan. You're definitely depressed. The events of our days really cause a lot of stress, anxiety, hopelessness, and the most critical thing this morning is also to understand that there's a difference between feeling depressed and clinical depression. This morning we're going to learn what that means. Of course, the death of Robin Williams has caused a huge conversation on this issue. Could we be depressed and stressed and we do not know who to talk to, why it happens, and how it can be diagnosed? We'll be looking at that on Everyday Life. This morning on Everyday Life, Stephen Kambaza joining me. Good morning, sir. Good morning. How are you? Fine. And of course, you can head over to our Facebook page, Morning at NTV, to start this conversation. At Morning at NTV is our Twitter handle, and of course, the SMS platform is 6565. Of course, our website is also live and kicking right now. Go to NTV Uganda, and you can see it. Brand new website, and start the interaction there. Steve, this issue of depression, you know, is a bit strange, and to the point that it makes some people even commit suicide. You know, it's a very sad thing. But for, you know, I guess in a layman's language, what is depression?
Now, depression is actually one of the psychological terms that have crept into our everyday English. And we normally use it. I normally hear people saying, I feel depressed, I am depressed. So, we use it without actually knowing the real meaning of what it is. But clinical depression is what is very, 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 is what is most serious. Okay. And clinical depression is a mood disorder. Moods refer to our feelings and emotions, and a disorder means deviance from the normal, moving away from the normal, or a disease or an illness. Yeah. So, depression is clinical depression is one of the mood disorders.
What causes that? Especially, okay, we've learned, now I know that most times we use the word depression wrongly. We maybe just be anxious or stressed and we just say, I'm very depressed. But focusing on clinical depression, what causes that?
Now maybe before we can think about what causes the depression, it would be good to understand how we define clinical depression, yes. Now, clinical depression is actually defined as acute feelings of sadness accompanied with loss of interest in everyday life activities. So if you get that feeling, you're feeling very sad, and at the same time you've lost interest in everyday activities, then we say you are clinically depressed. It has normally 4 major symptoms. And the first one is overwhelming feelings of sadness that you normally get most of the day, every day, but at least 3 weeks. That's the first one. Then the second one is actually loss of interest in everyday life activities. Like you may not be interested in even brushing your teeth, preparing your breakfast. And the third major symptom that we may use to diagnose it is your loss of interest in living. You lose interest in living, and also your general level of energy to do daily activities reduces. So it has to be related to loss of interest in anything. It has to be actually loss of interest, but not only loss of interest. That loss of interest is accompanied with high levels of unhappiness, sadness. Then we say you are clinically depressed. And that's when it becomes now a disease. That's when we differentiate it from this normal sadness. Because normal sadness is a healthy way, a normal way of responding to unpleasant life experience. It is okay, yes. And actually God created us in that way. But when you get negative experiences, you feel a little bit sad for your body to adjust. But if it happens with the other 4 symptoms, and you have it about at least 2 weeks, then it has become a disease. It has now become clinical, and definitely you need help, professional help. An actor that we all know, Mrs. Doubtfire, killed themselves. You know, he killed himself about a week ago. What pushes people to that place where they just say, you know what, it's better for me to kill myself. I understand the loss of interest in living. Because I've also felt some of that, you know, at some point in my life, but I didn't think of the option of killing myself. Now, the major causes of depression, the clinical depression, that your friend who died suffered, is mainly our life experiences and our view or our perception of the life experiences. The moment you get a number of life experiences, negative life experiences, and you develop a negative view of those experiences, and now they make you think that the world is not good, that you are unwanted, you are unloved, that you are useless, that you are worthless, and then you don't deserve to live. Then you think of taking away your life. Yes, that's one major cause. And then the second is actually biological. The second is actually biological. Some of us have a biological predisposition to be depressed. You know, yes. What? Yes. Yeah. Though we may not be many, but a certain percentage of our population has that biological predisposition to be depressed. You know, when you develop feelings and emotions, what we call moods, naturally we are created with some chemicals in our bodies that are poured into our bloodstream to try and stimulate those feelings of either happiness or unhappiness. Now when those chemicals are so many in our blood system, or so few, or so little, then we may get depression. So in most cases it happens that someone has many negative life experiences, he also has a negative view of those experiences, and probably he also has a biological predisposition to depression. And this is when someone becomes so depressed, gets major depression, or bipolar depression, and they contemplate suicide. Stephen Kambaza is a lecturer at Chambugu University and also a professional counselor. And this morning we are talking about depression, what causes it, and how do you know it's time to get help. How depressed should I be before I seek for help? Especially depression occurs in levels. The first level is what we call mild depression. It's technically called dyspnea. It's a mild depression. You have the other 4 symptoms that we talked about, and they last for about 2-3 weeks. That is still mild. Yes. It's acceptable. Yes. But if the other 4 symptoms that we talked about, if they persist after 2 to 3 weeks, and they go into about 6 months, then you are now developing what we call major depression. And this major depression now impairs your life functions. You may not be able to work, you may not be able to study, and you may not be able to socialize. And that's very, very, very serious. So, it's when depression impairs your ability to function normally that you should seek a professional counselor. On Facebook, let me know, because it has also become a very huge conversation in the internet world about the possibilities of stars committing suicide or getting depressed. Is it because, for example, like, celebrities, are they in a very close group that they think, for example, if they've done something bad, they don't have so many people to talk to about their situation. So they are kind of caved in, and before you know it, they kill themselves. Is that also one of the things that can drive you to such? Yes, probably. Man is a social animal. We are afraid to have interactions. And that's why they call it interactions. Now, these interactions actually normally help us to control and be able to manage some little elements of depression. But now, if we don't have these quality interactions, quality relationships, it normally happens to us. Because they are too popular. Yes, you find that they rarely have people who are so close to them. So they rarely have very good, what we call good social support. And so they have nobody to talk to. And because they have nobody to talk to, they have nobody to reveal their feelings to. So they eventually think of taking their lives. There are questions here for you. How long does depression last? Well, it depends on the types. Actually, we have about 5 major types. We had talked about minor, then we went to major, which actually lasts for about, if you have depressive feelings, for about 6 months. Then it becomes major. Then we have what we call bipolar. Bipolar, you today or this hour, you're very, very, very happy and very excited. And then the next hour, you are almost so low. You are very, very, very depressed. So, if the depressive feelings last for about 6 months, then you have an emotional health problem. Definitely you need a professional therapist to help you. Now what is very interesting, the depressive feelings, they can last for many years. Like people with major depression and bipolar depression. You can live with it for a lifetime. It may never go, especially if you do not actively seek professional. Because I know a couple of people who, you can think depression is right before 30. They are like that. They are always depressed, and so many people leave them because they don't want to kind of, get the same vibe. So these people are usually alone. Another message coming in, am I always going to feel like this? I think am I always going to feel depressed? Yeah, if you do not, if you do not realize that you have an emotional health problem, and if you don't actively seek for professional help, if you leave those depressive feelings for a long time, you are going to be like that for many years, and eventually what will happen? You take away your life. So therefore, it's very good if you suspect that probably I am developing unhealthy depressive feelings. It's good to go to a professional therapist. Professional counselor probably begin from there. And in most cases, we have 2 types of professional helpers when it comes to depression. If it's minor, you may not need to go to what we call a clinical psychologist or psychiatrist. So a counselor can help you, yes, and you can mobilize your social network and your normal coping resources, and you can come to it. But if you are going into major and bipolar, a counselor, a professional counselor is not here to help you. Because in most cases, you need to go to a psychiatrist or a clinical psychologist. Because those are the professionals trained to manage what we call major and bipolar depression. The reason why we go to those people is because for them now, if you are going to the major phase, then they need drugs. They call it antidepressants. And that's where I was able how do you treat depression? Because I know things like electroconvulsive therapy. You also train clinical psychologists, right? You know what you know yet, but they do. But you are equipped to teach them. Yeah, so how do you, what would the therapist offer you to treat depression? Now, as I told you, it depends on the type, yes. If the therapist is a professional counselor, it's going to be equipped to use what we call behavior change techniques to help you change your way of thinking, your outlook of life, so that you come back on the normal road. Yes. And then you have a positive view of life. Because as you saw, depression begins from the mind, having bad and negative feelings and negative emotions, and the way things are going on in life. So a professional counselor will use no drugs, will use professional, just behavior techniques. But if it's now major, then you need drugs, which is, and then maybe somebody with surgery, for example, to what the brain surgery. Yes, what they remove. They don't really remove anything, but they balance the way your brain communicates with your body parts, and how your brain perceives and interprets. Wow. Because normally, if you have only major depression, it indicates a fault on your brain and your adaptable balance. Wow. You know what, Steve, I'm going to invite you again and talk more about this because I know many people who are depressed. I've had those moments too where you feel like you're worthless. You have nothing to contribute. And those things, what may cause that, your marriage may cause that, your relationship, money, especially those who have huge debts, it causes you, it brings you to a place where you feel like, let me just end my life and get out of this mess. So we are going to help. We are going to help. We are not, the experts, but we have people like Steve who can do that. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much. I'll invite you again to see that thing, and we'll talk more about this. It's very fascinating about the surgery, balancing stuff in your brain. We will be talking about that. Go to our Facebook page, Morning at NTV, and of course tweet us at Morning at NTV. Feel free to tag me at MBGold2, and of course you can use the SMS platform, which is 6565. Now, just one quick thing here, Doctor. Just one quick thing. How should I behave with someone who is depressed? One to be very understanding. Because a lot of people are depressed. They feel ashamed to reveal their emotions. Nobody wants to come out. So, since they feel ashamed to come out and say, hey, I'm feeling funny, I'm not feeling okay. So it's very good to be understanding, that's one. Be very understanding. And be very supportive and encourage the person to seek professional help. Seeking professional help. We'll be putting Stephen's contact on our Facebook page. Make sure you do not go away. Because when we come back, Ismail will be letting us know what happened to Manchester United and spelling out the rest of the EPL. And of course, more results from the Pearl of Africa, Uganda. Stay with us.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Cassiati, Mabel Kedirungi, and Brian Molondo.
Light, camera, and action. That's what it's all about right here on NTV. Coming soon, we bring challenge powered by Uganda. My name is Dr. Ronnie Mr. and I'm going to be asking one simple question. Will you take the stand?
Coming soon on NTV.
Because you can still think about her, but she's gone.
She always is such a girl when she's surrounded by guys.
Attractive women are the most insecure. That's why we spend more time in the mirror than other women.
I need people please that are desperate, forgettable, replaceable, boring guy.
And how to deal with the obstacle happen.
I mean, how dare you come to me old and looking like a war truck from Afghanistan.
I've been given a challenge to go up to those get enough numbers of very hot girls.
So when you do a pattern, you can go. 0702.
The objective of the international team Uganda is the primary role.
Team Uganda is to remain to Division 2.
That's the only thing that can make one or two of the fans smile, that the clubs are doing well.
The players have put on the war the game faces. They're not the animals we saw last season, because Ferguson had the same group of players and he did deliver the Holy Grail, which is the title.
Episode brought to you by
At Orange, we know you want to do more on the internet. That's why we bring you happy hour day and night.
Destiny River.
My fella, I don't want to think ill of your mother. I don't want to. But the way she looks at me, the way she comes close.
Is father right in what he said?
I wonder if my father really died of a heart attack at Stella, or of another reason. You were the sole witness, Stella.
Witness? Listen carefully to what you're saying.
You can download movies at the lowest prices and none of cost from Orange. Dial *133# to buy a data bundle. Happy hour changes with Orange. Today changes with Orange.
Thank you so much for staying with us up to this time. We're still at the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel. Isma, Mabel, and I. Good morning, guys. Good morning. Have you suffered major depression? Quite impressed that they can even do surgery on you when you're depressed.
I thought it was it's a mental thing.
Get what you're going to be balanced.
I'm not disrespect to everyone who has suffered something like that, but I'm thinking about how to drive into depression.
Well, women,
women of course,
money,
yeah.
Women. A lack of them.
A lack of them.
Lack of them. Being single is not easy. Having no job is not easy.
Yeah. I wish you said women, and women.
Oh, my friend, these people can't live with them, can't live without them.
Same thing with men.
Now when a woman has money, she can live without them. But for us, whether you have money or not, to tell on tonight and this morning, this name is quite hard. Raj. Yeah? But not one of the contenders. How did you snatch it?
I've got to say that I wouldn't have given him a chance, and actually going into the final section, which is about 37 kilometers, he was at 26 seconds at lead, and was actually running in second out behind Gary Chain, the Africa Rally Championship leader. But where Rai got the drive to beat Chains by 28 seconds in the final section, only the person in his cannon navigator will tell, because it's impossible to beat someone by 28 seconds. It's nearly impossible in just one section. And he did exactly that. Eventually he turned the 26-second deficit into 2-second advantage, and actually won the rally by just 2 seconds. Where it came from, no one would have had an idea. Gary Chains came in second, and then Hamedesa came third. The best Ugandan, Omar Mayanja and Leon Senyange were the ones there coming in fourth, and I thought they had quite a drive. And for a long time I thought Atabalik was actually ahead of them, and then eventually didn't. Just Mangad got knocked out on day one. I think all the drivers had to do with very tough conditions, because on Friday when we went into that road in the Zion Access in Matuga, it rained so heavily for about 3 hours, and actually we could barely, in my position, my fingers were as cold as anything. And even under the umbrella wasn't safe. It was very cold and windy. Actually, the visibility was extremely poor. At some point, I thought the technical for the rally were going to cancel the rally for a moment, just to allow the rain to ease and then get back the cars racing. They didn't do that. The drivers raced through the rain. And then after day one of rain, now day two was entirely dry. So you had to switch from racing in the slippery surface to racing on the dry surface. And day two was a blinder. And eventually, the fastest of them, Rajbir Singh Rai, eventually winning it by just 2 seconds.
Impressive, very impressive.
Well, Ketesia didn't need a miracle in Rwanda. Tell us about the game.
Yeah, they're already through now because there was a lot of math going into the final game, and I remember telling you they wouldn't do so many miracles in one place to knock KCC out. Eventually, they've only beaten the bigger side. They beat up on Goma here in the opening game, and yesterday they beat up on the home side, APR, by goals in Steven Bengo coming off the bench to score that goal from a free kick. Something did so often at Villa has faded badly in the recent years, but eventually Steven Bengo got them the goal, and now they are through. They play a South Sudanese side on Wednesday that's called Al-Tabara, actually coached by former Express and Uganda French coach Lewa Dra. I don't know how he ended up in South Sudan coaching football, but he's the one in charge of Al-Tabara, and that's the team that Cases will play. I think they'll be pleased with the draw. At least they've avoided Azam, they've avoided Ryan Sport, they've avoided all those teams that you think could be favorites for this competition. So to play Al-Tabara, I'll be very disappointed if KCC are not in the semi-finals at the very least.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, finally, the weather has held up. Yeah. And in basketball, our Warriors finding their mojo.
They did win a game over the weekend against UCU Cannon. Eventually, they scored 76-69. And I thought this is a game that would have gone by as a sleeping pill for large portions, because even as UCU were the first team to create quite an advantage in the first quarter by about 6 points, they never competed thereafter. And Warriors, with all the players they've added to their roster, even in Abu Marco Pio, they're starting to win games. This wasn't as convincing as the day when they beat up on Power, 102-92. But I thought on Friday they just did enough, the grit they needed to win the game. And it's a team that started the season by winning 3 out of their first 7 games.
and now they've won 3 of their last 4. That should be very impressive. Probably they'll be competitive come the playoffs in November.
And sharing youth and Marines, what a boring game. These kids can't shoot.
Yeah, I think at that level, Nkumba Marines have been a team that has been in decline since they won the championship back in 2006. And it's because Nkumba University owned the team are not investing as much into scholarships to get the best players to go and play for them. That's part of the problem. And Sharon only coming into the season for the very first time. I think they've gone from being no hoppers to being a team that for me will stay up. I remember their coach, I remember telling some of the players that they can't win games taking only 50 shots a game, and wanted to raise that to 90. And they've raised that, but still they're not, I think, one of the better sides, but I think they'll be enjoying staying in the season for more than one season. They're staying in the league for more than one season.
Well, moving on to the English Premier League, and Edwin Muhumza writing on Facebook, I thought Moyes left. Swansea 2, Manchester United 1, and I'm wondering, that was not in the script?
It wasn't. It wasn't in the script. United have not lost a home fixture on the opening of the season since 1970.
But they usually have a poor start.
They usually have a poor start, but we've all been fooled because there was Sir Alex Ferguson for 26 years. Moyes had a very good start because he beat Swansea by 4 goals to 0 last season, and Van Gaal hasn't. But then I think we shouldn't have all these knee-jerk reactions. We are in the kind of sense where the media and many of us, the fans, react with a call for sacking. I was seeing something on the BBC in the aftermath of the game outside Old Trafford, calling for Louis Van Gaal's head after Gilbert Sigurdsson and Keith Young gave Swansea that victory at Old Trafford. They are first in the league. I've got to say that at the end of the game, Van Gaal said it as much. I don't think they didn't vary their chances, but on the other hand, you've got to say, can it get worse for United? Probably last season we saw the worst of United for a certain generation. Of course, there are those who lived in the era when United didn't win the league for 26 years until 1993. But for many of us, we are not seeing the United we saw last season. Now, Saturday was a representation of how poor United have been. They didn't look like they had the quality.
But they were doing miracles in America.
Yeah, they were playing against teams that were probably a week behind them in terms of physical fitness, Real Madrid, Liverpool, and all those others. And those are friendlies. They never count. They never count. I promise you that. But you've got to say that probably at the end of Saturday, every United fan should be thinking Van Gaal needs to buy a few players. I think they've left the business a little too late. That's the same problem they had last season under David Moyes. They didn't sign their players early like all the other clubs had. And now they find themselves in a similar situation. They need to go out there in the market and do some firefighting. Do they have the right equipment? Only Van Gaal and Woodward can answer the question.
Can the current squad, whether Van, and I respect the coach a lot, and I think Man United is a great team, but can the current team take the Premiership?
No. I see only 2 title contenders in England, Chelsea and Manchester City. Chelsea and Manchester City. But it's not even about that, because I see the quality and depth of their sides and they look way better than all the other sides. But I've got to say, Van Gaal is a man who has done miracles, and I've always made reference to that 1995 Champions League final. Ajax had no business beating AC Milan in that final. Van Gaal did it. The biggest problem, I think, is that we are all short-termists, I think, as fans, as media. We all look in the short term. One result, and Van Gaal is a poor manager. Now, for managers like him, who have been in the game for a very long time and have won 19 trophies, he looks at it in a more long-term kind of choice. Because when he's fielding Jesse Lingard and Tyler Blackett, he's probably not looking at winning the next game. Look at the long-term goal of the club. How this is going to develop, how the team is going to have a philosophy around him, how he's going to impart his ideas into the kind of group that he's going to have at Old Trafford. But then, modern football, like Paul Lambert, Aston Villa boss says, there is no project, the project is results.
And I was just thinking, for me, I've always thought Moyes should have come the season Alex retired, he lands on the job, then he goes into the next season when he's good. And I hope fans can give Van Gaal that time. Yeah. He's probably going to do very badly this season. And then in the next season, when the philosophy...
But the people who own the club don't give you time these days. No one's going to give you 5 years as they gave Ferguson. Yeah. They don't give you time.
Van Gaal, Moyes, you can excuse Van Gaal. So, who is Moyes really? Tell us about Arsenal, Liverpool. A late winner for us at Crystal Palace. What does that say about, are we getting a Man United feeling, like winning games when they are like 2 seconds.
You wish. You wish. But I think more importantly, Arsenal will know that had they had Aaron Ramsey last season, probably it could have been a better situation. Because when he got injured, I think Arsenal went off the rails. And over time, he's proving himself to be quite an asset because he scored the winner after Arsenal had gone a goal down against a very fluffy Crystal Palace side. Near that Rocco equalized, and eventually, and Ramsey got the winner. You've got to say that it was quite a performance that wouldn't be pleasing for the Arsenal. But at this point in time, when you're just getting all the players back, Messi is still away, Lucas Podolski and Pablo Saka, you've got to say you need the result, you need the 3 points. And probably one of their better players, voted player of the season at Arsenal last season, Aaron Ramsey got the goal. Don't ask who is dying next, because that's one of the jokes on social media. Whenever I score, someone dies. Actually, people thought it was Robin Williams this time. But I've got to say that he's quite a player. I've got to say that the Arsenal have lacked those goals from midfield in recent years. Ever since the generation of Robert Pires, Freddie Ljungberg, and all the other guys, those goals have disappeared considerably. Now, Aaron Ramsey reminds that those goals are coming back into the side. Then Liverpool, of course, all the talk was Luis Suarez. What will they do without the man? Okay, he'll play tonight. First of all, in this game for Barcelona in a friendly against Club Leon, a team from Mexico. I'd love to see how good he will be, because I've got to say I love good players, and Suarez falls in that bracket. So there's no excuse beyond that. On the other hand, his former team, which he did send a message before the game, Brendan Rodgers said that he sent him a message and said, wish the team good luck ahead of the new season. Probably that message didn't do much, because Liverpool struggled. They were second best against Southampton, but more importantly, won the game. Raheem Sterling scoring one and setting up the other for Daniel Sturridge. But Southampton was extremely competitive to the extent that I've got to say that besides Sterling scoring and setting up one, it was probably because of Simon Mignolet's save, because he had 2 blinders right at the end in goal there to give Liverpool the result. And they'll be pleased to get the 3 points, because it's the only team that beat Liverpool at Anfield last season. Southampton, the only team to pick 3 points. All the others came and went in defeat. Now to get, this is a bonus. This is 3 points that Liverpool didn't get last season.
Well, I've done all the maths for Liverpool. I know they're going to, they have a huge job on their hands after Suarez. Ismail's going to be here at 1:30 p.m. Talk about Chelsea, Man City, all those clubs, and what the season is going to look like. Be with Lumansi and Alan. And of course, Sports Bar at 10 p.m. coming to you live from clubs. So make sure you make a date with those 2 shows. African Proverb coming up. Do not forget what it is to be a sailor because of being a captain yourself.
Do not forget what it is to be a sailor because you could be a captain yourself.
Because of being a captain yourself.
You've now progressed to being promoted, and you...
Yeah. And on the ship, the team, you know, there's a lot of teamwork. I've got to confess on national TV, while watching Titanic, I shed a few tears because I imagine now, not too long ago, I've got to say. But I've got to say that probably, why are you laughing?
He cried, you cried.
That's why I was young. So I looked at everyone in the room, they were crying, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, but you've got to say that because the ship moves with all this, literally, moves with all this teamwork, the sailor reports to the captain. So in Titanic, when the sailor tells the captain, I see an iceberg right ahead, the captain looks and they couldn't turn soon enough. So probably it's about when you're coming from the bottom, like Mabel said, don't look down on the people below you. But also on the other hand, looking at the sailors as important to you as a captain.
As a captain.
Yeah, to succeed. Mabel, watch Titanic. You should watch Titanic with me.
Yeah, my
To
lady,
all the
crying
men
is
that
okay.
cried during Titanic. Now, I think I watched that movie when I was like, what, 10?
No.
I
It was sad, but it's quite a fairy
Yeah, it was
tale.
sad, but yeah, real men cry.
But, yeah.
I should watch
But
that movie again.
I imagine.
Even when you know what's happening, you still cry.
Mabel, could I leave you my last life jacket like DiCaprio did for Kate Winslet? I wouldn't.
Men of today.
No! You can't
Women
say
have
that.
to know, so it's hard to leave the life jacket. They'll beat you to it. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Morning at NTV is our Facebook page, and of course, at Morning at NTV is our Twitter handle, and you can also use our SMS line, which is 6565. Send your messages, tell us what we can do on this show to make it better. Our new website is up. Go and check it out. Brilliant, brilliant. Live. And of course, you can stream www.ntv.co.ug/live. And until tomorrow, have a phenomenal day. Bye-bye.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji and Brian Molondo.